Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, I believe, was you would think would have been made famous by Scottie Pippen, right? Like he was a NBA champion, obviously huge, big time basketball player, all the way up until the early 2000s, right? I think remember his time with
Mm-hmm.
the Blazers,
Yep.
um, but she was made notorious by Future, of course, right? Who rapped about banging her. And look, nobody can prove it. I guess he didn't say I just banged Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, but I think everybody knew there was, pictures of them floating around, the timing, the song. So that's kind of what put her on the map in a fairly Kim Kardashian esque way, right? Like, so she wasn't on camera doing this, but it became sort of a trending thing that Scottie Pippen's ex-wife was banging a rapper, and not just any rapper, but arguably one of the most toxic, like,
How do
you
I get
know,
this off the screen?
oh, dude, Vlad TV is crazy with the ads. I don't. It should be at the bottom. There should be an exit. I don't know.
She's 46 and he's 32, it said.
Okay, so that's not that bad, right? I don't really think that's the issue at all here. Even though, call me old fashioned, you should probably, I wouldn't do that, right? Like I wouldn't date an older woman. I would, full disclosure, I would have no problem dating a younger woman, but that's not what this is about. All right. Um, so after she's made famous by, stepping out on Scottie with Future, one of the most toxic, lean purveyor, smoking weed all day, all of this stuff. Then somehow, some way, of all the people in the entire world, her her ex-husband's hugely famous sneaker empire son, of all the people in the world, you couldn't have found anybody else. You choose Michael
So
Jordan's.
strange.
It's so strange. And it does, I mean, these are things that I obviously cannot prove, but it seems to have a very personal vendetta to it, right? Like, I mean, you
This
guys
is
just ran into
very,
each other at a party, and we just
yeah.
clicked. I mean, how you can't
Well,
you can't stop help who you love.
this has very much Jada Pinkett Smith vibes for me. She meets this young guy at a party or something, and she can't, say no because, her whole life was probably just like going after famous guys until she finally found the one that was. And look at her response. Literally, the people that write me on there are like not happy that I'm in a relationship with you, but it's fun. I mean, listen, it's fun as long as you don't mind. Like for me, it's fun and it's cool, whatever. But if you didn't like it, I'd definitely turn it off. Pippin said, "I'd shut it down." But obviously, we know that she doesn't answer her own messages. If anybody is, listen, if you have OnlyFans, it's sad. It's Is it sadder to have it or to pay for it? I don't know. Probably to have it, to be a creator on it. You're
I
basically a
I
porn
I think
star.
the opposite. I think the other way. I think it's
Th-
sadder to actually pay for it.
Let's just agree that they're both sad. And the saddest part is thinking that you're talking to the woman, and it is literally a guy she pays to respond to your messages. So you're sending
It's
your
Andrew
penis
Tate.
pictures. Penis. I can't do an Andrew Tate impression. Never tried. It's like 80% American English and 20% British. It's very strange. I don't know. Yeah, Will Smith vibes here.
That's a great
Maybe
point. I actually hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely correct. It's very similar. And I think what's one step worse than this is not only that he's doing it, he kind of
20-word
seems like
article.
it's a really short article, but he kind of seems like the pawn, like the patsy in this whole thing. Like it doesn't feel to me like he stepped up to her and was like, "Oh, I really like your vibe. Like let's go out to dinner." Like he doesn't seem like the one who really put this into motion. She seems like the one in a Jada Pinkett Kardashian esque style. But what's worse is that he's a complete. I can't think of a better term than simp because he's like, so I am dating the ex-wife of my father's former friend and teammate. Like we can all talk about how they may not have gotten along for the past
Mhm.
decade or so, but I think they got along well enough in the '90s to make millions of dollars. And everybody talks about how Scottie was underpaid, and now he's sort of going through this weird like a 3/4 life crisis or something where he's dressing up like a college kid. He's wearing Supreme and he's getting braids in his hair and he's got chains and he looks like
Yeah.
he looks like I gotta be cool because my wife is dating somebody half my age, so I gotta do it too. But the issue here is that what's his name? Marcus says,
Right.
yeah, I just want her to be successful. I want her to have fun. So you're
Okay.
yeah. So you have chosen to go out with your father's former teammate's ex-wife, even though there's millions of people in the world, and but you can't help who you love. And on top of that, she's on OnlyFans, so she already cannot be trusted. Arguably,
Yeah.
arguably,
To say the
allegedly,
least.
yeah. And when you're asked about it, this person who you may or may not be, say you're in love with, or you're at least in a fairly serious relationship, it doesn't bother you. Oh no, it's fine. Like, why not just? I mean, where do we draw the line? Okay, so you can be. Look, I'm not subscribed to her OnlyFans, so I don't know what she's actually doing. But there's the joke that went around social media that these women will show their private parts for $4 a month on OnlyFans, right? So, dude, you have businesses, you got sneaker stores, you're making plenty of money. You could probably tell her, "Hey, we'll work on another. Why don't you go teach yoga? Why don't you, go teach Pilates? Why don't you y- do something else? And I can support you in the meantime because I was born into $1 billion. But somehow, some way, he wants to pretend like this is all good, bro. Yeah, like I don't want to impede your life. And it's like, okay,
Yeah. Live your truth. There's
yeah,
something that happens to these guys that are put on these old athletes that are put onto these shows where they all of a sudden think that no matter what they do, they can't be questioned because they're on a show for their opinion because of based on what they did on the field or the court. And I think of Scottie Pippen, I think of Shannon Sharp crying that what's his face is leaving.
is it
They've only
Bayless?
been yeah, they've only been together for a few years. It's weird to cry that he's a crier though. And then I think of Kendrick Perkins, of course, and these guys who were ball players get on TV and all of a sudden they think that they're preachers. They're preaching gospel all of a sudden. And Scottie Pippen's one of the most interesting ones. He was on that show with what's the girl who they fired her for saying for hitting on LeBron or something, wasn't it? Molly, no, that's Molly Kareem is the other one. The redheaded girl they fired from NBA Today, which was a good show. Scottie Pippen had been on that one, but Scottie Pippen's one of these guys who's really taken like a roller coaster ride of what he does and what he says. He's got more styles that he changes through than let's say Kevin Gates or something becoming a Muslim and back and forth. The cap and everything. But Scottie Pippen's one of these guys that I don't like to hear have his opinions. He's got so much like bitterness, I feel like, towards Michael Jordan, which you never get for the most part from people who know that they couldn't have won without the other person. Clay Thompson isn't out there hating Steph Curry to the best of my knowledge.
Well,
Who
not
else?
yet. Not yet. We'll see.
Not yet.
Maybe.
We'll see. But Jason Williams, let's go, doesn't hate Dwayne Wade, even though maybe he does for his politics. But you know what I'm saying? People that weren't winning without these people, it's sad to see them, turn on them. Julian Edelman on Tom Brady or something. It's a strange place to be. I don't like it.
Yeah.
NBA
Well,
on TNT is the only one for me
that's the big one, right? With
inside the
Shaq,
NBA.
Shaq. Yeah.
But it's by far the best one. Is why it's the biggest
Oh
one.
yeah, Shaq and Chuck, and they each, I think, maybe we're getting off track here, but I think Shaq and Charles Barkley are about 85% normal. So every now and then they'll go on some weirdo tangent about racism or some like establishment talking point, but for the most part, they're pretty normal. I mean, we've seen over the years all the, Charles Barkley feminism jokes, and what was the
Yeah.
one that went super viral like how come you don't how come you would never buy a woman a watch?
You heard me try to stop it.
Chuck,
Come on.
again, why you never buy a woman a watch?
Say it again,
Why you never buy a woman a watch?
Because there's a clock on the stove.
I just wondering. I always wondered why.
Come on, Ernie.
I've heard it all before.
Turn it up, Jordan.